Okay, and we are live. Welcome to a new episode of All Things Xbox podcast. Once again, I got Logan with me. Logan, how you doing this week?
Just dandy, man. It's shaping up to be a good week. How about you?
I'm good, man. Well, I'll say that, but I've been sick all week. I'm beginning to think I don't have an immune system, uh, or at least it just doesn't
Sounds
try.
problematic. Yeah.
Yeah, but hey, I move on with it. It's been a good week for gaming, and we haven't had a show for 2 weeks because Logan had his dentist stuff last week. Scheduling was pretty bad, and again, I randomly get sick all the time, which is lovely, isn't it? But it's been a long 2 weeks. There's been a bunch of releases. Logan, what have you been playing?
Yeah, I've been playing a lot of Power Wash Sim 2 obviously since it came out. Been loving it. I love all the upgrades and new features, the new missions and levels, the replayability, all that. Playing that and I had a tweet about it the other day, but I randomly picked up Baldur's Gate 3 again
Nice.
because it was I was having this itch for an RPG and I'm like, you know what? On some blue moon chance that something is working, I will re-download it and try. And lo and behold, years later, I now have access to my original character.
About time.
So I jumped back in, and my character was like 54 hours in, near the very end of Act Two. And so I had to go through a whole bunch of reading journals and like dialogues, old stuff to like
Yeah.
try to fill in the blanks because I was like an amnesiac character at this point.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
like, what did I do? Where am I again? Like 54 hours is a lot of content to cover. So I've been playing through that again. I remember just how much I love that game. I mean, Larian did a fantastic job. It is so good. They are clearly one of the giants of RPGs now. And just, I'm excited for what they do next. I'm playing that, playing odds and ends of stuff and fiddling with stuff from my ROG Ally X. Loving it. My Xbox Ally X. There's a new update that came out today for it, which should help with some of the crashes and battery stuff. So if you have one, update it today. That should have gone live not that long ago. And yeah, and then starting to watch Pluribus, which is super interesting. It's on Apple. Have you seen that?
No, you know me. I'm like way behind on TV shows.
Okay, well, it's a basically a sci-fi show that is made by Vince Gilligan, who did Breaking Bad and Call Saul, and it's very good.
Oh yeah, I have seen the advert for that. For some reason, I thought it was connected to Breaking Bad.
Well, there is a apparently one of the there's a little Easter egg that one of the plane companies that you see in the show was the plane company that had the
Yeah.
that incident in Breaking Bad. So there is some tie together, and I think it's in New Mexico again.
I'll have to give that a watch. Well, it's been a busy week. I've been playing a bunch of different games. I got a review code for Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D Remake. That's a mouthful. And let me tell you,
Nice.
that game is bloody beautiful. If I can see, I can get the footage back on screen. I'm doing this live, so it's going to take some effort. Okay, here we go. So Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D remake. It's beautiful. That they mastered that look. It works for just so many different kinds of JRPGs, and honestly, I would love. This will never happen. I would love to see Final Fantasy 7 in that style, or Final Fantasy 6. Um, but man, they nailed it. Like, this is my first time playing Dragon Quest 1 and 2, so it's a new adventure for me. It's just like a good old school JRPG. Have your little towns where you go to your shop and buy armor and swords and stuff. The dungeons look amazing because I think they actually use ray tracing or global illumination in this game, because when you have your little torch, and you're walking around these little dungeons, your torch actually lights up areas. It's a small thing we see in a lot of games, but just to have in a 2.5D game, I love it. It's so much fun. For people that don't actually play many JRPGs, it actually has multiple difficulty modes. And if you really don't like difficulty modes or difficulty in JRPGs, I think there's actually an invincibility mode. I'll have to double check. But yeah, combat, traditional JRPG style, love it. Art style, love it. Very simplistic story, but that's kind of what you had in those types of games back then. Go out there, save the world type thing. But it's just so much fun. It really is. And this is like 2 games. So this review I'm doing right now, it's going to be multiple parts because, that's 2 big games in one package. But man, they knocked it out of the park. It's so much fun. It's taken me a while to get used to random battles in JRPGs again. Because if you go from Final Fantasy 16, where you can actually see the enemies out in the wild, to go back to playing an old school one where you wander around and then a wild battle happens, it takes some getting used to. We'll call it a skill issue. But hey, I'm loving it. I will say this, if for people that want to pick it up, they actually in a jumbled order. You see, Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D Remake is the first one, and Dragon Quest 1 is the follow-up, and Dragon Quest 2 is the follow-up to 1. It's a bit weird, but it kind of works. But yeah, if you're looking for a 2.5D traditional JRPG on Xbox, go get that. So much fun. I've been playing a bunch of different games. Arc Raiders. Look, I know every time I talk about multiplayer on this channel, nobody gives a crap. However, I'm playing Arc Raiders as a single-player dude. So I'm going in solo a lot of the time, and I'm just, like, having fun out there. And what I've noticed is, if you play in teams, it's ruthless. It's like The Walking Dead out there. People are fighting to survive, get each other's supplies. But if you play on solo mode, I'm not even kidding, I rarely come across anyone that's bad. People are working together. There's a bunch of voice commands you can send out. Or if you don't want people to hear your actual voice, you can actually have this filter on, this AI filter, which I haven't used yet, but it's so good. And again, I don't play multiplayer games much. I play Warzone with a friend, and that's it. But, like, it's addictive. The game is beautiful. We talk about AAA Unreal Engine 5 slop basically every week, because how often does an Unreal Engine 5 game come out and it performs good? It's pretty rare these days. But you have Arc Raiders, and it's gorgeous. You have real-time global illumination, ray tracing. It looks like it's ray traced, and it's full-on 60 frames per second at a high resolution. And this developer proves that you can have a well-performing game and it look like this. And by the way, Arc Raiders, its price. Let's talk about that quickly. In the UK, it costs £30.99. I believe in the US, it costs $30.99. And this is like outclassing basically every other multiplayer game at the minute. And again, I'm playing it as a single player game, and it's so good. But before we continue, we have the first super chat of the day by Nick, the horror game fan. Thank you very much for the $4.99. He says, Dragon Quest 1 was my first ever JRPG or RPG back in the day. I plan on picking this up on Friday. Dragon Quest 4 and 6, sorry, 4 to 6 is the same. Dragon Quest 6 is the first. Dragon Quest 4, then 5. Well, thanks for letting me know, because I have no idea what I'm doing. Because again, the jumbled order does throw me off a bit. But we'll call that a skill issue again. But man, Dragon Quest 1, this is my first time playing it as a newbie. It's so good. It kind of has this, trying to think how to put it. There was a bunch of old Final Fantasy games on Game Boy that I played in the early 2000s. I think they were called Legend of Final Fantasy. They remind me of that. They're just really cool, quirky games. And by the way, Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D remake, it has voice acting for some of the dialogue, which I never expected. And it was a pleasant surprise. Whenever you talk with the king, it's full-on dialogue, and the voice acting is pretty good. So that was very cool to see. And yeah, I really hope Square Enix actually go in and do more Dragon Quest games in this style because they just work. They have a formula that works. I would like them to do Final Fantasy VI and Chrono Trigger. I think Chrono Trigger would work really well in this style, but we'll see what happens. Square Enix have been talking about recently about how the multi-platform strategy is working really well for them. They've had a lot of success. Hopefully, with these newer titles, we'll see more stuff like that. Logan, did you ever play Chrono Trigger back in the day?
Actually didn't. My brother absolutely loved it, but it is one that I have not played. It and Super Mario RPG are two of the classic JRPGs I didn't play, but really do want to play a remake of.
Yeah, so I've never gotten to play that game, Chrono Trigger, but I've always wanted to, and hopefully if they do that, we'll have something good. And yeah, as Nick just said in chat, we're getting Dragon Quest 7 remake next year, and that isn't in the HD 2D style, but it looks stunning, absolutely stunning. So like we'll call me a Dragon Quest newbie. I'm super excited about Dragon Quest going forward. Just really cool looking games, and I've seen some complaints online about the simplistic story, but like I don't want an overly complicated story in every game, and I think it's fine. But yeah, so far,
Not everything needs to be Kojima.
yeah, I don't like as much as I love Kojima's games. I don't need to like sit down and like get out a notepad and try and connect the dots for half an hour with every game. Like I'm a Christopher Nolan fan. I don't want every movie to be like that. But yeah, Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D remake. That's a mouthful. Uh, Bloody good so far. I can't really complain. But thank you for the $4.99, Nick. The Arc Raiders thing though, like Logan, you don't like multiplayer on any level. Is there anything about Arc Raiders that intrigues you at all as a single player dude?
Um, I like the art style. I like um the designs. That's about it. Like it looks pretty, and I mean that's all I can really say. It's just not my style, and I have zero interest in it.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that people are enjoying it. The fact that it's already sold 4 million and set concurrent records that are melting servers. Clearly, there's an appetite for this. And I'm just glad something is finally taking Fortnite's lunch money, at least for a minute.
Yeah, I mean, look, it been popular, and I don't like to say I told you so at every given opportunity. But I'm going to say I told you so to everyone because I've been trying to tell people for the past year this is going to be huge. And the reason is because we don't really have an extraction shooter on console that's good, right? There's three, two of which I can't remember the name, and I'd be shocked if they're still open. You have
Tarkov is coming.
yeah, Tarkov. We'll be talking about that in a bit, but like Tarkov, I think them seeing the success of not Outriders, Outriders. I'm all over the place today. I'm keep getting games mixed up. Outriders, my god. Uh,
Arc
Arc
Raiders.
Raiders. See what I mean? Like I can't even think today. That's what I mean because I've been writing something about Outriders, and I'm getting the names mixed up. Way too similar. Arc Raiders. My God, I will mess that up several times in the next few minutes. But that game, it's just easy to use. Its UI is super simplistic. It's a gorgeous game, like absolutely stunning, and like it basically just simplifies the extraction experience. Multiplayer has been stagnant for so long. Overwatch came out in 2016, kind of changed the game for hero shooters. Personally, not my cup of tea. I would rather watch paint dry than play Overwatch. Right? Hero shooters aren't my thing. And Battle Royale started mainstream in 2017. And, Fortnite came out. Fortnite is the reason why we have battle passes. Take from that what you will, right? Some people don't like the idea that they started the whole battle pass thing, but then you have this game, and Tarkov has been like the pinnacle of extraction shooters for so long, but it's only been on PC. You haven't been able to get it on Steam up until I think now, and the barrier to entry to play an extraction game has been super high, but now on console it's super low, and this does everything right. But I think with Tarkov, them explaining that, hey, they clearly saw the success, they're gonna have to try and figure out how to get Tarkov working on a bloody controller, which I can imagine that being a pretty big nightmare. I don't think they have a snowball's chance in hell now, right? I'm still looking forward to it because I've watched many hours of it. But I think when Tarkov comes out on console, it's going to be extremely niche. I would love to be wrong, though. But back to Arc Raiders. Yes, I got the name right that time. But the game is just, it performs well. Finding other people out in the wild doing their own thing. Like, I was trying to get some magnets to craft something, and this other person I just saw looking in some shelves for some stuff was shouting, "Don't shoot! I need to find mushrooms." Right? And I was like, "I'm not going to shoot. I just need to help you upgrade my chicken, because you have a chicken in the game called Scrappy, which you can upgrade." And I realized at that point in time, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. Right? I'm shouting to a random stranger on the internet that I need to upgrade my chicken. But it's a damn good game. I think if people want to try something different, they should maybe give it a go. I do think that the developers should actually give people a free trial. Maybe just 2 hours, maybe just one extraction. Because I think a lot of people will love this game, even if they don't like multiplayer. And like you were saying, they actually, kind of putting it to Fortnite a little, because this game actually has a battle pass, but it's free. Who would have thought a battle pass is actually free? So you buy the game, and yeah, there are skins you can buy, but you don't need to. It's just cosmetics. But like, the battle pass is completely free, and all you have to do is just play to unlock stuff. And the stuff you get in the battle pass, which is free, you get cosmetics and useful items for out in the field. So I love the fact that it's just doing something different. We complain about price in the AAA space on a weekly basis. Admittedly so, I whine a lot about game prices. But £30.99 for a game like this, I really hope, considering how many people are playing this game, over 400,000 people concurrently playing it on Steam, I really hope this scares a bunch of developers and publishers thinking, we might actually have to price our games down. Screw charging $70, screw charging $80 or $90 or the $100, right? Charge less. Because every single time a game's came out this year and it's been significantly cheaper, it's kind of done really well. People have talked about the price as a selling point. Oblivion, great price. Helldivers, right? Helldivers 2, great price. And I'm hoping at least that we're going to see a monumental shift over the next couple of years, that maybe raising the price of games is the opposite of the thing they should do. But Logan, what's your thought on the whole, like, it being $30 or $39.99 and having a free battle pass?
That seems like a really good sweet spot area for an entry point for people who are like, I'm looking for a different kind of multiplayer experience, but I'm not quite sure about this. So, yeah, it feels like a good price to me.
Yeah. I mean, Silk Song. I think Silk Song was like $20. Like, stupid good price.
Yeah.
And
ingenious.
I think we just need to see more of this. Look. Whenever GTA is brought up, people always say it's $100. I'm willing to spend $100 on a game. Yeah, Expedition 33 was a ridiculously good price, right? We need to stop buying these $70 games. Like, look, publishers don't like when I say this crap, or when anyone says this crap, right? The $70 game, I think, caused a problem in the industry, because I noticed when games start being $70, more and more people were saying, you know what, I'm going to wait for a sale. And all of these companies, unfortunately, they go off their first month of sales, whether they're going to get DLC, sequels, and whatnot. Basically, the Netflix approach, right? if Netflix has a series they've been working on for a very long time and it comes out and they don't have the numbers they want in the first week, they will outright cancel entire cinematic universes, right? It's crazy, but you have the price factor thing with video games, and I think now, stop pricing games at 70. Look at Mafia. I think Mafia was $50, something like that. It wasn't the full price, and people paid a lot of attention to it. Metal Gear Solid Delta, right? Beautiful game. Essentially what people wanted out of a Metal Gear Solid 3 remake. I argue to say that it cost too much. I think 70 was too much. Amazing game, but too much. But again,
Empire Survivors was $5, and it has
yeah,
lasted a long time with constant updates and new content.
Yeah, and look what happened with that. That spawned off an entire genre of games. You have what was that game that came out on Game Pass not too recently? Deep Rock Galactic Survivors, right? That game is essentially Vampire Survivors, but 3D-ish, and it's a good game. But hopefully the price thing, developers actually take a look at that, because look, Arc Raiders, people talk about that price, and the big topic for the past year was, can an extraction shooter basically cost money? Because whenever Marathon's been brought up, people saying it should be free. I've never once said it should be free. I think $30 is or $39.99. That's a good price point. But yeah, Ball X Pit. That's basically a Vampire Survivors game. But price is a big factor, and hopefully developers pay attention to it, because again, we need to see some change in the industry. And plus, I don't like whining about the price of games every week. I would like that to change, and this is a good start. And by the way, if any developer's going to come out with a premium game and you're going to do a battle pass, do it this way, right? I hate the idea that we have premium titles that have paid for battle passes. That should not be a thing. Another game that actually does this, the free battle pass, and that is Quidditch Champions. Quidditch Champions has a free battle pass. Basically, the progression in that game works like a battle pass. I think the game's $25, and that's it. There's no microtransactions, no fake currency to buy. But yeah, that's enough about me whining about prices this week. Anyway, we'll move on. And speaking of Arc Raiders, I get to rant about Eurogamer. So Eurogamer put out their brand new review for Arc Raiders yesterday, and they got the attention they wanted, because they made the entire internet go pretty mad. So every single time a new video game comes out, there's always this one outlier that they put their foot in the sand and they make a mark, and they make a lot of people angry, right? Go back to IGN back in the day with Pokemon Ruby and Too Much Water. That angers people to this day.
Alien Isolation.
Yeah. Was it IGN that did the bad Alien Isolation review?
Yep. And then they doubled down on it. And then when a sequel got announced, they decided to do some weird little victory lap saying, see, we weren't the reason it never happened, and maybe we should review it again. And this just weird.
Yeah, well, they decided to give an Arc Raiders a 2 out of 5. And I think the main reason they gave it a 2 out of 5 is because of the whole AI voice thing. And for people that don't know, the game has actual voice acting in the game by people. The AI voice thing is that if you don't want someone to hear your voice, you can actually have an AI filter on, and you sound like someone else. The thing is, those voices that you hear as filters, these were voices done by paid actors, and they were paid for their likeness and voice. So these actors were paid, and it's not some AI slop thing. So it feels like they didn't really do their due diligence when it comes to their review, but also the video game review stuff, or should I say video game journalists, they have this really big thing against AI. And it's not a topic I'm going to go into today because it has its ups and downs, but it's crystal clear that places like IGN, GameSpot, and Eurogamer, and a lot of journalists and stuff, they hate the idea of any form of AI in video games. Right? The truth is, we use some form of AI every day on some level. I ask Siri, unless she set my phone off, but I ask Siri to set my alarms every day. Am I putting someone out of a job because I'm using an AI to set my alarms? No, it's stupid, right? It's just a tool. And this is just an AI voice tool, and the actors got paid. Dumbest thing ever to dock points for a review, but this is Eurogamer. They are known to put out pretty bad reviews. Logan, what's your thought? Because I know you're not into Arc Raiders, but them docking points off a game just because of some silly AI voice stuff.
Yeah, it's on brand. It's just like, that garbage review on Outer Worlds 2 that somebody did about, like, well, I love the game and all this stuff in it, but who made it makes me have to dock points because of this,
Yeah.
this, or that. Like, reasons outside of the actual product. And it was just, I don't know. It's always Eurogamer or VGC or IGN or
Metro.
like Metro. I mean, Kotaku always has some polarized angle on something. It's just, it's almost like they try to just get more clicks and more engagement rather than a legitimate, thoughtful, reasonable, score or review. It's
Yeah.
like, let's see how many people we can rage bait with this.
Yeah, and it does work because if you look at these outlets and you look at their posts on social media, like they don't like Eurogamer doesn't have high engagement at all for a big company such as Eurogamer. But if you look at every single one of these outlets, look at their average engagement on their posts, and then look at every single time they put out an article like this. People are fuming. People in the replies. People are looking at their articles, wondering what they said. There's people defending it. There's people going against it, and it works. It drives traffic to them. But it's unfortunate. Metro UK is arguably the worst one because they actually docked points off. If I remember correctly, it was Hi-Fi Rush, and they docked points simply because Microsoft owned the company.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's dumb. Like, come on. And I think that's a big reason why you're seeing a lot of people just turn away from these uh, game media outlets because people don't trust them anymore. And like, look, everything IGN puts out, for instance, it's basically clickbait, right? Game news is no longer news. It's all rumors, leaks, the latest leaks, all this type of stuff. And I feel like we've talked about this before. Like, game news doesn't seem like what it used to be from these media outlets. Like, oh, this game's getting this really cool feature. Hey, this new expansion for, let's say, Borderlands, you're going to be able to do this, this, and that. It isn't really like that anymore. It's all about getting the most eyes as soon as possible. Race to the finish, and use the worst crap possible. But hey, it's just annoying. And I know AI is a weird topic, but I think the way Arc Raiders or Embark Studios they actually did it, the actors got paid. Like across the industry, that's been the big thing people have been against. The actors haven't been getting paid. Crappy AI voices being formed out of nowhere, but in this time, the actors were paid, which I think's fair. Let's see what we got next.
To me, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal to. I'm not sure if this is the specific instance in question, but like,
Yeah.
say that you were on a limited budget for voice actors, so you hire only English actors, but then you use AI to translate it and do different voices for different languages and stuff. Like, I know that's cutting some corners, but to me that doesn't seem like that big of a deal if the original actors whose voice you used and then altered were paid for their work. That doesn't seem like that big of a deal to me.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Hollywood, there was this like CGI like AI actress that was made a couple of like weeks or months
Oh,
ago.
they got so mad about
Yeah,
that.
and
Yeah.
like there's talent agencies or that there's people trying to push talent agencies to get this AI actress working in movies. However, the company that went viral for hiring this AI actress, that was the company that made her, right? So this company made an AI actress, and they got it out into the wild that hey, there's this AI actress that people want in Hollywood movies. Well, the company that made it, this AI, uh, decided to make a talent agency themselves and put it out in the news. But at the end of the day, like this isn't going to be a thing. I 100% believe this isn't going to be a thing. You know, AI actors in movies. You know, there's always been CGI crowds and stuff in movies, but like to have a featured AI character, I can't see that happening anytime soon. But like the way Embark have done just the voices, I think that's fine. Now, if a game decides to use AI voices completely, then that I'm completely against that because again, those could have been actors' jobs. But yeah, we'll move on. You know what, Logan? You want to talk about Crash Bandicoot because we might have some cool news.
The first thing is that apparently it's been revealed that Netflix is working on a animated series for Crash Bandicoot. So yet again, more positive game coming in a different media form. Crash seems perfect for a little animated series. Like he just seems like a Saturday cartoon type character to me. So it's a perfect fit. That's part of the news. And then the other news is it kind of goes down a little rabbit hole, but basically Beanox Studio, which is one of the Activision studios that Xbox acquired, they put out a post the other day, an anniversary banner that included all these games they've worked on, and then there was this random Crash artwork that was never seen before, and it had Crash with a kart racer, but and the kart racer was from Nitro Field, but the Crash model was from Crash 4. So clearly, this was it. A lot of people were running with it that, hey, they're gonna make a either a sequel to Crash Nitro Field or a update or something because this is completely new content. After Canadian guy who's a well-known Crash Spyro, all things platformers, content creator, made a video about it. Literally a few minutes later, Beanox pulled the announcement banner and changed it and removed that. So clearly, there's something. There's been more evidence that Beanox and Iron Galaxy are working together on something Crash related. So keep an eye on that. It sounds like Spyro and Crash both have some things in the works. So Microsoft has not abandoned our furry and scaly friends yet. So that's good.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can't really go wrong with Crash Bandicoot, right? Like, I've never played a Bandicoot game and thought, "Well, that was bad." Right? They're always fun. Like, I even defend Crash of the Titans. Right? That
Yeah,
game,
I want that BC.
yeah, it was a fun game. I don't know why it's not backwards compatible, but like that was a fun game. It was a bit different. And Crash Bandicoot, like, look, I think Crash Bandicoot has this like nostalgia thing for a lot of people. Like playing that as a little kid on the PlayStation and then on a PlayStation 2, like that was like a big part of my like childhood when it came to gaming. Um and it just seems like it's an IP that disappeared for so long. And like when the trilogy remaster or remake came out, I think in 2016 or 2017, like that thing charted #1 in the UK, and it charted #1 for, if I remember correctly, 3 months straight. Right, and we have a weekly chart here, not a monthly chart. So like people clearly still like Crash Bandicoot. Um, I just think we need more of them. It feels like Crash Bandicoot 4 came out so long ago. At least it feels that way. But hey, I'll take more Crash Bandicoot games. I'll take a new Spyro game, which is more than likely happening. In the series, why not? To be fair, I haven't really seen many bad video game adaptations on Netflix, so hopefully things will work out. You know what? We'll get into the main rant of today because, oh god. And by the way, no Splinter Cell rant this week. That's a new one. So over the weekend we had N7 Day. Yeah, every week. Every week, for some reason, I find a reason to complain about Splinter Cell because it doesn't exist anymore as a franchise. Until I have that copy in my hands of the Splinter Cell remake, right? I don't care if I see any trailers. I don't care if I don't care if Ubisoft emails me personally, like actual, marketing material of the game. Until I have that in my hands, it doesn't exist. It's Schrodinger's Splinter Cell. Right, it exists and doesn't exist at the same time. But yeah, so we had N7 Day the other day, and N7 Day, it's a big celebration of Mass Effect. All of us Mass Effect nerds online, we celebrate over, the franchise we love. And typically on an N7 Day, we get something. Before, let's say, Legendary Edition came out, they put out little teasers now and then for the remaster collection. I believe the year before they even announced it, they put out a clip of the Normandy that was running at 60 frames per second, and people were like, this is blatantly not the console version, so is it the PC version? It was basically the remaster in advance. But this year, we got a single piece of concept art. Great, right? Absolutely great. And it was of a Krogan war, right? Now, normally, I'm not the type of person that takes a piece of concept art and I'll run with it and make a 10-minute video. I don't see the point in that. Like we can only rinse so much out of a single image, and it's a cool image. Don't get me wrong. The website's still available if people want it. It's currently my wallpaper on my PC. But people are trying to run with this single image of this Krogan war and trying to decipher it, thinking what it means, because there's part of the Mass Effect fan base that, they like me and they want a new Mass Effect game, a Mass Effect 4, and, that will follow the trilogy, do the things that worked in the trilogy, because, the trilogy actually works. And then there's another group of people, a very small but loud group of people online, where they still can't get over Mass Effect Andromeda, and they want Andromeda to get a sequel. So any single time Mass Effect is mentioned, they will call it Mass Effect 5, and they will constantly talk about how this game's going to be set 600 years in the future. Mass Effect Andromeda, Mass Effect Andromeda. And to me, I can't run with that, right? Mass Effect Andromeda almost tanked the entire franchise to the point where someone from EA said Mass Effect is going into hiatus as a franchise. And as I've told Logan this before, and I'll mention this again, that announcement happened on my birthday, right? I've never gotten over it, clearly, right? Announcing my favorite franchise of all time was going into hiatus because Andromeda tanked so hard, right? There's probably going to be a landfill documentary at some point about that game because, video game stores had piles and piles of copies of Andromeda and they couldn't sell them, right? And, hell, my local CEX, used video game store, used electronics store, right? They had this huge pile of Andromeda copies that they were selling for £2 a piece and they couldn't get rid of them. Nobody was buying it. And, if you're going to make a follow-up to a trilogy, wouldn't you make it a follow-up to the trilogy, the successful Mass Effect games, and not the one that tanked the franchise? The reason why Mass Effect as a franchise actually has people caring about it at the minute and playing the games is because Legendary Edition brought back the games people loved. But yeah, the single piece of concept art had people theorizing that the 600-year thing's true. And to me, it's a cool piece of concept art. Logan, I know I pop off about Mass Effect every time something happens, but And look, if people enjoy Andromeda, that's bloody cool, right? But like, I realized that this is how I realized my final thoughts of Andromeda. I apologize if I'm ranting today, but I'm ranting. Uh, when I finished Mass Effect in 2007, do you know what I did when the credits rolled? That game was so good, so peak, and this was before people were using peak. I literally hit New Game Plus that night, right? New Game Plus, start a new playthrough. Mass Effect 2 comes out, I finish the game, I hit New Game Plus the next day. Mass Effect 3, I think I hit New Game Plus a week later just because of me being busy. Mass Effect Andromeda, do you know what I did when I finished that game? Nothing. Literally nothing. I had no want nor need to play that game. I didn't even want to play the multiplayer. So, I deleted the game from my hard drive. And that's when I realized this game I've been hyping up for months and years, made content about, looked forward to so much. All these posts I put out on Twitter of all these screenshots I'd been taking, me talking about how great this game is. I realized that game was just a disappointment. And that's how I realized my actual thoughts and feelings around the game. But if people enjoy it, that's cool. But to me, that was it was disappointing. It was like getting coal on Christmas, right? Chances are, if people tune into this podcast at some point, I will be talking about Mass Effect. I apologize. I don't mean the apology. I love Mass Effect maybe too much, but rant almost over. I think Mass Effect is an amazing franchise. The reason why people suggest the trilogy all the time, it's because it's peak sci-fi. It's one of the best trilogies of all time. And to have this like weird spin-off game almost tank a franchise, and for people who want a sequel, it boggles my mind. I just don't get it. Now, Logan, I've been ranting about Mass Effect for 10 minutes. What's your thought on the N7D image we got?
Well, I thought it was cool. A
Yeah.
bunch of Krogan duking it out and stuff. Like, I don't have some existential thoughts on it really, but it looked cool, and I I thought some of the interviews were interesting about, like, they kept insisting that no, our studios are going to have creative control, and yes, Mass Effect is still coming, and like basically trying to dispel the whole like EA Grim Reapers out in the parking lot waiting on BioWare. The idea about that. Um but so I hope it comes out, and I hope it's great. I'm still very I would say concerned about its future, but
Yeah.
I guess we'll find out. I hope it's Mass Effect 4 and
Good
it
man.
follows the trilogy, the best storyline, all the good content, great stuff. Trilogy's iconic. And like you, like the best comparison I can come up with for Andromeda is, you remember back in the day when a movie would come out and it was really good, and then they wanted to do a cash grab sequel in a short span of time, but it wasn't that great, and so it didn't hit theaters, it went straight home to video,
Oh yeah,
and
that's a good
like it
analogy
would
actually.
usually have like, yeah, it would have like some knockoff actor or somebody to recast the characters, or it would just be some weird spin-off, and then people would be like, "What is this?" Sometimes they were good. There were a few that were really good, but for the most part, it was like, "What have you done to my franchise? What is this abomination?"
Yeah.
And yeah, that's Andromeda to me. Like, it has its moments, but the amount of stuff that they took out alone that should have been in the game would have made a good game.
Yeah.
Like, there's just a whole bunch I have an issue with that game. And I'm not even like a um Mass Effect disciple like you are. Like, I love it. It's really good, but you're on another level with this franchise. So, it just, yeah, I hope 4 is what they actually make, and I hope they make it good, but I remain skeptical because EA is EA until further notice.
Yeah. You know, I'll admit, like, uh, maybe my Mass Effect thing is an unhealthy, obsession, but it is what it is. Um,
It's all good, man. Everybody's got something that they're all about.
you mentioned the whole like straight to DVD thing. It reminded me of Starship
Yeah.
Troopers 2.
Oh gosh,
Yeah,
yeah, that.
like Starship Troopers come out in like what 98, 97, something like that. Became an instant cult classic. Like I shouldn't. I was definitely not old enough to watch that movie when it came out. Um, but
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
but like when Starship Troopers 2 came out, that was not the same. Like you have this like sort of quasi horror film set in this tiny little bunker, with like a shoestring budget and a cast nobody ever heard of. Like okay, um, I was gonna use the term what do you call it, Mortal Kombat Armageddon, but I won't be that harsh because that film was not good on any level. But yeah, just thought I'd rant about Mass Effect for a minute. And look, I hope Mass Effect comes out. I hope EA knock it out of the park because look, EA gets a lot of flack. They own a lot of properties I like, right? They have Mirror's Edge. They're doing nothing with it. I miss Mirror's Edge. I really miss Mirror's Edge. Dead Space. Like Logan, how many times have we talked about how good that Dead Space remake was?
It was incredible. It was Resident Evil 2 remake quality. It
Yeah,
was fantastic. The perfect way to expand that game and make it more accessible. And they literally put teasers and new things in it for a Dead Space 2 remake. And then they have the balls to say, oh no, we have no plans for a 2. Oh no, that was never in consideration. Da, da, da. Like, give me a break.
yeah. I'm so salty over not making a remake of Dead Space 2. What were they thinking? Um, but yeah, I can't really speak to what the sports franchises are like because I don't play them. But I can imagine maybe they aren't doing as well as people would want. Um, I mean, hell, I used to be big into FIFA. Most people probably don't know this. Like, I bought FIFA '09 used, and I became so addicted to it. Right, FIFA '09 was basically the best FIFA at that point, and I was like, "This is incredible." Right, because that was the. By the way, before then, Pro Evolution Soccer was the football game. Right, that was the one everyone bought. Again, I wasn't even into football, but I bought FIFA '09 basically because the demo was good and I had fun with it. And FIFA's kind of fallen off a cliff. It's not fun anymore. I can imagine maybe people have the same thoughts about their other sport franchises, but EA, they have so many cool things. We just need to see more of them. Like, look, Dragon Age: The Veilguard. We clearly saw what happened with that in the gaming space. What people thought of it, whether people liked it or hated it. Like EA, the way they marketed that game was kind of bad. Hell, I think EA can't market Dragon Age games in general. Dragon Age 2, terrible marketing. Dragon Age 1, most people didn't even know it was a thing. Inquisition had some luck. But, yeah. And you know what? While we're talking about this stuff, Warner Brothers is going to be bought up by some company, and they have a lot of game studios, a lot of intellectual IP, and there's a lot of talk about acquisitions at the minute. If I remember correctly, yeah, Netflix is looking at them. And by the way, this is going to affect all of their games going forward, and they have a lot of games in development. So Netflix are looking at them. Universal Studios are looking at them, which I think Universal Studios would be the best pick because you have all the rides at Orlando. Is that right, Logan? It's Orlando, Florida.
Universal's in Orlando, yeah.
Yeah, so like they could have all the DC rides, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. So for me, Universal and like Universal, they used to be big into video games, but haven't been for such a long time. But like this, whoever buys Warner Brothers, they're gonna have this huge library of IP, and who depends on who buys them. It's going to affect all of their games going forward. You're talking about Hogwarts Legacy 2. We're talking about the next Mortal Kombat. There's been rumors of what do you call it? Injustice, DC Justice, Injustice 3, right? So like whatever news pops up about the whole Warner Brothers thing over the next several months, it's majorly going to affect what happens at the gaming side of stuff. Like Logan, what do you think? Because there's been a lot of talk about DC and all this stuff, but like the video game side, not many people are talking about it.
Yeah, it would be a huge merger whoever gets them. And obviously the movies are the forefront in the TV series because that's predominantly what they make. But of course they do have a lot of gaming IP either related to those movies and shows or separate, like Fear, for example, or No One Lives Forever. Two IP that need to come back 100%. And yeah, it Paramount has been rejected 3 times now trying to buy them. And they're just like, "You go away." They just keep basically rejecting every bid they give to try to buy Warner Brothers. And then they come out and say, "Oh, we're not desperate. We don't need to buy anybody." I'm like, "Buddy, you've been spamming them trying to buy them,
Yeah.
and they just saying no." I mean, hopefully they get them. I don't know, but and then Universal makes the most sense to me personally. Like you said, like back in the day, like before Disney became like the entire all-encompassing juggernaut that it is. Like Disney and Fox kind of made sense because they had some characters like we own these characters and you own these characters and they're both technically in a universe, but the rights are complicated and then like Alien and Predator and then this and that and then being able to merge all that together it made sense, even though they were both massive entities. But so to me, this makes a lot of sense. It's more traditional. Netflix, obviously, like they could handle it. They've got the cash to do that. I think that would be bad news for theaters and
Oh yeah.
like traditional like that experience. But then again, blunt, theaters have been kind of not as hot lately in general since the pandemic happened. It's like prices went up, commercials went up, just everything to where it's like, why go to a theater and pay like $40 for a family or a few people to get a movie and some popcorn for one night when you could just wait a couple weeks and buy it or rent it for a fraction of the cost and have it at home on your own experience and you're not dealing with morons yelling chicken jockey
Yeah.
or other junk going on or getting extorted for popcorn. Like popcorn should not cost a mortgage. I know I sound old when I say that, but I love popcorn. But seriously, like they are extorting you with that popcorn price. So yeah, I hope Universal does. I guess Netflix would be my second choice, and then Woe Begone Paramount for a third choice.
Yeah, I mean, look, I have forgiven Paramount for mismanaging the Star Trek IP, right? I'm so triggered over that,
Yeah.
by the way. Like Star Trek,
Oh, didn't they do something with the Chris Pine one again? Didn't they
that's
finally shelve that
yeah,
for good?
yeah. So okay, my blood's about to boil. So Star Trek 4, it's been in pre-production for like 8 years or something like that, right? And they
Man,
find
that's a long pre-production.
Yeah,
Goodness.
and long story short, I know this is a gaming podcast, but long story short, after Wonder Woman came out and made $1 billion, Chris Pine was basically in $1 billion movie, so he was able to ask more. Right? This is an industry thing; it's the norm. However, Paramount allegedly didn't want to give him the money he was asking. Now, they've had it in pre-production for ages. The entire cast have been ready to go, but Paramount they just didn't want to pay for it, right? Uh, it's a hilariously mismanaged IP, and they're doing it right now. Right? They have Star Trek: Strange New Worlds, popular, brand new, cool format for Star Trek, which works. And what are they doing? They're continuing to make sequels to Star Trek Discovery. Right? There's a 600-year time period in Star Trek which Paramount are absolutely terrified to touch. Do you know why? Because they'd have to come up with original material. It's not like they have 2,000 books available of extended lore. But yeah, Star Trek is screwed as an IP going forward because of Paramount's decisions. That's why we don't. By the way, I've heard. I can't really post any proof of it, but I've heard that the reason we don't get AAA Star Trek games is because of how controlling Paramount is over the IP. Apparently, big developers and publishers have approached Paramount to make games based off Star Trek, and it hasn't happened. Right?
That sounds familiar for another sci-fi franchise I love.
Yeah, and it's annoying. It's really annoying. But yeah, that's me ranting about Star Trek. Look, I hope Universal gets them. And look, Universal has a bunch of intellectual properties, which I would like to see their studios make games from. We used to get Universal Studios games all the time. Look at the Chronicles of Riddick games.
Jaws game.
Yeah, like all these were Universal Studios games. But hey, I wish for the best for them. We have another super chat by Nick, the horror game fan, for $4.99. Thank you very much. He says, "Do you think exclusives matter? I personally think they still do." I mean, it's a hot topic. Look, I think that exclusives kind of matter. I don't think it's as black and white as people may think it is. Like, look, we saw what the whole thing happened last year with the. Microsoft doing the multi-platform strategy. We had the Halo campaign Evolved announcement a couple of weeks ago. People lost their marbles. And maybe it's because I have a laid-back frame of mind about things. Like, yes, clearly my blood will boil over Star Trek and Mass Effect, but usually I'm a calm person. I don't really get gaming stuff. I don't let gaming stuff get to me. Like I'm just a pretty laid back person. But like the whole exclusives thing, like I just kind of tilted my head like a somewhat confused puppy dog, and I was thinking, that's odd. Because if you look at Microsoft, like they've been trying for years to get, they're trying to build on their first party studios, right? They bought all these studios in 2018. And then basically we didn't hear from them for years, right? And then we start seeing things like Hellblade last year. I believe it was last year. And we start seeing games again. However, even though Xbox, and this is what I'm about to say, these journalists, a lot of people that freak out on Twitter about exclusive, they never mention what I'm about to say. The truth is, Microsoft started putting out exclusives regularly, but it didn't move the needle compared to how it has in the past, right? The masses that buy these Xboxes, that buy these PlayStations, they buy them for Fortnite. They buy them for NBA 2K, whatever it's called, Madden, excuse me, Madden. And look, the hardcore game is always going to go to where the games are. I think that's always going to be the thing. But if you look at the console user base, I'm doing air quotes, the console user base hasn't really grown outside of like 200 million people in 20 years. And if you look at all these big games that come out, like Ghost of Yotai, that's what it's called, yeah. Ghost of Yotai sold 3 million. That's actually a really good number for a sequel, a couple of weeks after launch. In my opinion, that's a fairly good, sales figure. But people are wondering, like, why isn't it selling 10 million, 30 million? Is it because it's only locked to one platform, or it's because most players just don't care about those kinds of games? So, like, I do think exclusives do matter to an extent, but I don't think exclusives would actually make Microsoft the number one console again, right? So if they all of a sudden start having everything exclusive, like everything, other than COD, because, the contracts and stuff, I don't think Microsoft would be the number one console. Like, the generation that they lost was last gen. people start building their gaming libraries. People were locked into their ecosystems. There were people that switched over to PlayStation because of the Call of Duty map situation. So, like, to me, like, I think the exclusives do matter thing, but to a small percentage of people, which are the core gamers. Again, I'm doing air quotes. But gaming's changed a lot, right? Look, we talk about the whole black hole game thing. I think black hole games, they're kind of bad, right? I play Warzone with one of my friends, but I play it to socialize, right? I don't really care about getting the win all the time. I just want to have fun and, chat with one of my friends. But, like, so many people play these games, and, like, they will buy a console to play this Warzone game, or Apex, or Fortnite, or insert whatever free-to-play game, right? The idea of them buying these other games is kind of alien to them. And I kind of really realized this a long time ago, but Raiders especially made me think this, because it's a premium game, as in it costs money. It's the hot new thing, but people have to buy it. And I've seen a lot of people in this space talk about how, it should have been free and whatnot because it's a multiplayer game. But, like, these same people will say that there's no games out. They'll like, Logan, you've probably seen these topics before. Gaming's dead, and then they only talk about multiplayer titles.
Yes, they're the mosquito 10-second Tom TikTok brain
and that's
people. Yes.
Yeah, and that's like these people aren't buying an Xbox to play. Let me think of a game. What came out this year? The Outer Worlds 2. They aren't buying a console for that. They aren't buying a console to play, God of War, Ragnarok, or that came out not too long ago. Oh, that was like 2 years ago. But, like, do I think exclusives matter? Yes. But to a percentage of people where I don't think Microsoft even cares, right? You have Nintendo. Nintendo are ridiculous, right? They can put out a new game, like Animal Crossing, the next Animal Crossing. I guarantee you that Animal Crossing game is going to sell about 40 million copies in the first year, right? Their games sell, really sell. Like, why is PlayStation looking at multi-platform releases? It's because they don't do Nintendo numbers. And I guarantee you that if Xbox did Nintendo numbers for their games, the word multi-platform wouldn't exist, right? You'd have every single Microsoft game would be locked to an Xbox console because they're selling, 80 million copies of Forza. Like how Mario Kart has moved over the past few years. But that's just my take. Like, what do you think about exclusives? Because it has been a hot topic over the past 2 years, but that's just my take anyway.
Yeah, kind of, I don't know. Like, when I grew up like you did back when it meant something, truly. And, back when Sega and Nintendo were like at each other's throats, it was crazy. Like some of the ads and stuff that they would pull and stuff, and the mascot era, and then the OG Xbox and PS2, GameCube, Dreamcast, and then, on and on to now. Like, I remember, seeing that only on Xbox yellow badge, which is like basically a scarlet letter now, for a product, or, like player's choice for Nintendo, or, platinum hits, and then, or greatest hits for PS2 and stuff like that. There were all kinds of cool things, and like exclusives, like, you got a PlayStation because you wanted to play, Metal Gear Solid, or Final Fantasy games, or, you know, Kingdom Hearts, stuff like that. Or if you wanted, or God of War, and then if you wanted, Halo, you'd get an Xbox, or Knights of the Old Republic, you got an Xbox, Ninja Gaiden, Xbox, Gears of War, Xbox, and then, Pokemon, Zelda, Mario, Donkey Kong, Kirby, Metroid, all those. It's like, yeah, you got a Nintendo. It's just what you did if you wanted them. But we're in a different world now to where the world has gotten simultaneously smaller, but also more dense with more people and more people wanting content. And the amount of people the continue to use the old traditional method or mind style of game consumption has basically plateaued at a certain point. And there are still more and more people gaming, but not a whole bunch new into the old way of doing things. So people are just like, I want to play this game. It looks cool. And I want to play it anywhere I want, however I want, instead of like, well, I guess I need to get an Xbox or a PlayStation or a Nintendo. So they just do. Xbox realized that, look, we're in third place. We're a distant third. We're not going to get first. We royally bleeped up the Xbox One generation. That was the generation you couldn't lose if you wanted to, quote, win an exclusive mindset type strategy. Because a digital library, because, before it was almost all physical, there were a few arcade games digitally, stuff like that. But for the most part, games were physical, and then Xbox One, PS4, and then Switch and Wii and all that. Like, digital enters the fray and changes everything. So they realized that, look, we just need to get our games everywhere. Like, make as much money as we can via our products. To heck with exclusivity, and then we'll just make our products so good or so great or friendly or have different user interfaces or accessories that differentiate them from the others to where that will drive people to us rather than a quote game you can only get with us. And to me, I think that's just the strategy going forward for everybody, except Nintendo, because Nintendo is Nintendo and they're one of one. They're the golden unicorn. They're just they are what they are. Disney, Pixar, and gaming all mixed into one bubble. Like they're just they're truly just different.
Yeah.
So, but for Xbox and PlayStation, it's like we're on a new war front, a new strategy. Just like we thought Xbox kind of had a stranglehold on cloud and streaming, now PlayStation's gunning them down for it. And they've actually jumped ahead of the line with more titles already for stream your own than Xbox has. And Xbox had technically been doing this for a longer period of time recently. So it's really interesting, and I think just going forward, it's going to be what platform and features do you want versus um, I want Mario or I want Halo or I want Kratos. Like you can just have all of them on different places and just pick what differentiates the platform.
Yeah.
Long-winded answer, but to me, I would have preferred if they had stayed the old way because I'm just old school like that. But I'm not going to kick and scream about it. I get it. I mean, it's what they're doing now. I've adjusted, I've adapted, and I actually like the strategy now that I can use it and I'm seeing it do good things. But when they first announced it, I'll admit I was not thrilled, but I do like how things are going.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the initial shock was shocking, obviously. It was like, oh, that's weird. And then I kind of got over it. And maybe I got over it too quick. Like, have you seen that Top Gear gif where he's like, oh no, anyway, uh, that's
Oh,
essentially,
yeah, that one's funny.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's essentially how I reacted. Like, I got over it probably within 24 hours. Look, let's look at the Square Enix, right? All these companies were doing like multi-plat, should I say, exclusive. I can't speak today. All these companies were doing exclusive deals with like Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, with their third-party games, and now Square Enix is putting their games on everything. I'm pretty happy that I'm getting to play these games on my Xbox, right? Look,
Same.
we're getting a Final Fantasy VII remake demo on Xbox in the next couple of weeks, right? Do you know how happy I am that like this game that's heavily associated with PlayStation, to the point where some people just think it's a PlayStation game or a PlayStation character, even though Final Fantasy started on Nintendo. But for me, like I said, I think the old guard, I get why. Because we've had exclusives on everything forever. Now things are changing. Go back 20 years ago, we didn't have black hole games, right? Which we refer to as slop on this
Better.
channel. But yeah, just times are changing, Anyway, let's see what else we've got. My God, we still have 11 topics. My God. We'll get this one out the way quick. So, the creator of Saints Row came out and said about a month ago that he has ideas how Saints Row could come back. And basically, last week, apparently Embracer got in contact with him, and they want him to make a new Saints Row game. So, hey, to me, as a Saints Row fan, this is an amazing news story because Saints Row had a bit of a rough patch. But if you're going to get anyone on board to make a new Saints Row game, make Saints Row the GTA style game it needs to be. You're going to have the OG people back. And if you have the person that created Saints Row, that is the best thing they could be doing. We complain about Embracer a lot. This is a good move. Logan, what do you think? Because, again, Saints Row had its ups and downs, but this is a really good move.
Yeah, I mean, this is really smart because a bunch of the complaints that happened with the recent one was like, what is this? This isn't anything like the original Saints Row. What is this humor, or these characters, or the vibes, or a whole bunch of stuff. So to really capture the original spirit, bring back the original team makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I mean, look, Saints Row has always been this open world criminal sandbox game. It's always been like GTA, but slightly over the top. And people like that. But like, if you go back at the last Saints Row game, it like whose idea was it to put hipsters in this type of game, right? Like
Same people who did Cracker Barrel rebrand, I guess.
yeah, like my God, as a British person, I saw people freaking out about the Cracker Barrel thing. Like, I get why, like, changing an establishment that's been the same for like decades, that they made it all like
Yeah.
trendy and hipsterish. Not a good idea. But Saints Row, like changing it the way they did, it just wasn't the right way to go. And look, Saints Row's always been a weird game, right? Saints Row the Third had you fighting things like zombies and stuff, right? Saints Row 4, you were a superhero in the Matrix, right? Fighting aliens.
President.
And you know what? Oh, yeah, and you played as the president. By the way, I love the beginning of that game. Where
Oh, yes. It has Don't Miss a Feeling.
yeah, and
Don't
oh
Miss a
my God,
Thing.
you're climbing this like nuke as it's going up in the air, but like it's so over the top. But I love Saints Row 4. It's so crazy, but I love it. But you have Saints Row that could possibly come back. Now, I do think GTA, and this is going to sound dumb, some people will really take offense to this. I think GTA needs to have quote unquote competition again, right? We can't just have one open world city game ever coming out now, right? Watch Dogs as a franchise is done, unfortunately. I like Watch Dogs, and we're not getting a new one. Just Cause is kind of done as a franchise. So like the next open world city game after GTA is Cyberpunk 2077 sequel. That, in my opinion, is not enough, right? We need way more open world city games. And we used to get them all the time back on 360 and PlayStation 2 and stuff, right? But now it's very rare. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mind's Eye. Uh, Look, I was excited for Mind's Eye, but that game clearly has its problems to the point where Leslie Benzies of Rockstar fame can't admit that the game has problems, so he's blaming the staff and sabotage. Like, come on, really? Just admit the game's a bit broken. You know, do what other developers do. Put your head down, fix the game, and it'll all be good. But no, claiming that people are sabotaging the game from the inside. Like, it's crazy. But yeah, the open world city game as a genre, it's not much of a thing now, and I miss those days. I know I complain about GTA a lot, but the truth is, I just want more. Like, look, can you remember when GTA 3 came out, blew people's mind holes, and then a year later, we got Vice City?
And then not long after San Andreas,
Yeah,
and then not long after 4. It was that golden period where we actually got a whole saga or franchise within a generation or two, not one game and then the sequel on a whole entire different console like 7 years down the line.
yeah. And by the way, do you know Grand Theft Auto's technically skipped a generation? Like, 5 is a 360 game. We just had multiple versions of it. But yeah, anyway, I hope Saints Row comes back super strong, super crazy, and man, if they get it right, I'm sure millions of people will love it. It's just playing as hipsters. I don't know what they were thinking. But anyway, we'll move on. You know what, Logan? You wanted to talk about Dante's Inferno quickly because that is a game that deserved way more love, but unfortunately, it kind of failed when it came out.
Yeah, speaking of go back to that topic we had earlier about EA and their Grim Reaper stuff. But yeah, Dante's Inferno, for those who don't know, was originally a classic literary work about the nine circles of hell and Dante going down basically the nine circles to save his wife or fiance's soul, uh, Beatrice, I believe. And then, like, he's guided by Virgil and other stuff, and he encounters all kinds of different, creatures, famous figures throughout history, and all kinds of stuff as he goes through the nine circles. And so they adapted that book into a game, which was a crazy idea. And it actually worked. And it was a God of War style game. And it was super awesome where you've got this massive scythe and all these other weapons. And you're going through purgatory. And then, you know, every level is for a different, quote, cardinal sin like lust or greed or pride, wrath, sloth, all those. And all the environments were tailored. Like I remember the lust section, I'll be very careful because of
Yeah.
monetization, but um my goodness, that was that that was an experience of a level. And then, like some of them were like super grotesque, some were like, well, they weren't so bad. They're kind of on this level, and then some are like, dude, these are like the worst of the worst. And it was just a super cool story and well done gameplay. And they had it set up at the end for the continuation of it, which was the next work in the literature, series, which was about purgatory. And so they were going to talk about Dante's Purgatorium was going to be the sequel, and they had a bunch of stuff done for it and everything. But for various reasons, they just shelved it. And randomly, IGN the other day was like, you know what? It's been a decade. We can talk about it now. And so they released a whole dump of stuff about it. And then it made people like me mad and sad again because I was like, gosh dang it. Because I loved Pandemic and I loved Visceral. They
Yep.
were two of the better studios of their era, both owned by EA and both RIP. So, yeah, it's a shame and in today's age where things are given other chances through Netflix or anime or movies or whatnot, maybe they could give it a spin, see if it sticks, and maybe get that second one back out because I think it would have interest. I really do.
Yeah. I mean, I think another reason why we aren't going to see games like that. By the way, I'd love to be wrong, but I think the reason why we aren't going to see games like that from EA is just because the amount of time these games take to make. Or we have to have it super realistic. It's going to take 5 years to make. Like Dante's Inferno 2, I think would make money if it came out just as a sequel, not necessarily this photorealistic thing. But yeah, hopefully we'll see games like that from EA. Maybe we will, but yeah, that's one of those cancellations which kind of stings a little because that first game. Hey, look, you can play that first game and think this is a God of War 3 ripoff because it is. Even like, don't you get health from chests the same way? Because I'm
I
pretty sure
can't
you can.
remember, but there was a ton of mechanics that were identical. Yeah.
Yeah, it was basically a God of War clone, but it was a good one, and it just kind of works. But yeah, hopefully something happens with that IP because it deserves it. And by the way, if people are interested, it is backwards compatible. If I remember correctly, it is 60 frames per second on Series X and S. But yeah, super fun game. You know what? We'll talk about this quickly because it got a lot of people heated. Now I know people might be sick of me talking about Arc Raiders, but I kind of have to use it as an example. So Shroud over the past week, big streamer on Twitch, talked about how Arc Raiders deserves to win Game of the Year. Now, I talked.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, we'll get into it in a second, but I clearly like the game. I have had footage during the podcast. What I'm about to say could be bloody controversial, and if people want to clip it, whatever. I think a multiplayer game shouldn't win Game of the Year. That might be controversial. I think a single player game or a co-op game should win Game of the Year, not multiplayer. Mm-mm. And I can't really explain why. It feels weird, right? Overwatch winning in 2016, I don't get it, right? There were way better games out that year. Arc Raiders, really fun game, but personally, Expedition 33 should win. I can't see why any other game should win, but to me personally, it just doesn't make sense. Right? We have multiplayer game of the year. If it wins that, I'd be happy because it's a really cool multiplayer game. But for some reason, look, multiplayer games are fine, right? But to win game of the year, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, people are still going to be talking about Expedition 33. I don't think they'll be talking about Arc Raiders. I could be wrong, but that's just my take. I just think that a multiplayer game like this, how many times have we seen a multiplayer game be absolutely massive and then people just stop playing? Like PUBG. PUBG at one point in time had over 2 million players concurrently on Steam every day. Every day, right? And what now? Nobody talks about it. PUBG is still a thing people play, but it's mainly on mobile. And it felt like that game was a flash in the pan. I loved it when it came out, but that game has a lot of issues. Still does. And I just think that, if you look at the gaming space, if you look at Expedition 33 again, that game made people go, oh, I want to play this turn-based game. Right? People got into turn-based games because of this, and they're going to look at other turn-based games and play them as well because they got into the genre. Look at the story, right? Let's look at the story of Arc Raiders versus Expedition 33, right? Arc Raiders, the nukes fell, robots have taken over, you've got to go out and survive. You can make friends with randoms or go after them. Get materials, survive. That's essentially it, right? Expedition 33 is deep, right? It's unique. Its story alone is unique. You have this sort of demonic paintress that can basically paint people out of existence based on their age. Paris, or this place that's a lot like Paris, that's basically been taken into this alternate sort of painted dimension. Right? It's a very unique story. and I just saw in chat, like, should Gears and Halo not be eligible? Those aren't multiplayer only games. Gears of War has a great story. Gears of War 2 has one of the most upsetting scenes ever in a story, in my opinion, in a video game. Halo 1 was known for its story, right? Halo 2 was known for its story and its multiplayer. Halo 3 popped off for its multiplayer. But as a franchise, very story centric still. Gears of War, like if they come out with a multiplayer only Gears, then we can talk about it.
That's a DOA.
Yeah, and by the way, I don't think multiplayer only Gears would ever work in a million years. But like, I just think that, and bear in mind, I'm still on Act 2 of Expedition 33, and even it's my game of the year, kind of tied with Final Fantasy 16.
Buddy. You thought Act 1 and Act 2 were heartbreaking? My goodness. Just wait till you get through 30.
Yeah, like, Act 1 alone, heartbreaking, right? But what they did with that story for me, it really hit home. They came out with something really interesting. But yeah, Final Fantasy 16, I've talked about that game non-stop since I got it, right? If I could give that game of the year, I might, right? I have a video coming out next month about best games of the year, and I'm still don't know what to put in what order because there's been so many cool games this year. But like, look, people are loving Arc Raiders. I'm loving Arc Raiders, but I can't call it Game of the Year. I just feel that a Game of the Year should go towards a more, a unique game, a single player game, something with a story, but maybe that's just the kind of gamer I am. And look, people that only play multiplayer games are going to disagree with me, and that's perfectly fine. It's just, if people have been listening to me on this channel for any amount of time, you'll know that multiplayer games aren't really my bag. I'm playing Arc Raiders as a single player game, and random people annoy me. They ruin the experience when they like go after me. It's like, no, we're surviving against a world of robots, and then you're going after my stuff. Please, right? These are the people that would actually ruin an actual apocalypse. It's like, no, let me keep my tin of baked beans. Don't kill me, But like, to me, Arc Raiders, it's fun. But compared to other games, like, look, I genuinely think one of two games is going to win Game of the Year at Jeff Keighley's Game Awards, sponsored by Gillette, right? I think that it's either going to be Hollow Knight or Expedition 33. It's going to be one of those two games. By the way, I keep saying this in chat, and I've seen this before. Is this podcast live? Yes. I don't know why. And by the way, someone on Logan, I don't know if you saw this. So about 2 weeks ago, someone on Twitter started saying that I don't post my own gameplay because what I talk about right now isn't what people see on screen, right? What we see on screen right now is called B-roll, right? And the B-roll you see right now is my gameplay. I get together basically 10 to 15 minutes of my own gameplay clips. I render it as a single video, and then I have it set to a loop. And then when people listen to the podcast live or afterwards, in the background, there's gameplay instead of a blank screen, right? I'm not playing a game while doing this podcast. I'm talking with B-roll. Yes, this podcast is live, and nothing on my channel is actually scripted. I actually storyboard my videos. Don't know if I've talked about this. I don't actually write a script. I draw a storyboard for how I'm going to process videos. Little bit of knowledge there for people. But yes, this is live. It's all my gameplay. As you can see right now. I might be behind or not, but like, I'm currently driving up a hill in Death Stranding. That was an annoying part of the game, but I did it. But yes, we are live. But yeah, anyway, I think Expedition 33 or Silk Song is going to win. Logan, what do you think of the whole situation? Because look, I know when I said would a multiplayer game be Game of the Year, I know you I kind of heard your eyeballs roll, but like, what do you think of the whole thing?
To me, it's not necessarily about the idea of a multiplayer game winning it. It's more that game winning it, or recency bias versus like you said, like no disrespect to our creators. It is great. People are loving it. I'm thrilled. It's doing awesome. But when we go back through the annuals of gaming history and you look at the true masterpieces out there that stand the test of time, that did something truly magnificent or different and shaped lives, or not that dramatic, but just like really had an impact on people and spawn new franchises or new genres or collaborations and studios and stuff. Expedition 33 is that game. Or Hollow Knight. It is not our creators. Like, to me, there have been a few times throughout history that a multiplayer game would be worthy of a game of the year. Like, Mario Kart back in the day,
Yeah.
or Smash Brothers, Melee, or you know, I mean, even GoldenEye had single player campaign, which was really good. I know a lot of people always talk about the multiplayer, but it adapted the movie as well. Like Halo and Gears, as you mentioned, had fantastic stories. I play them for the stories. I do play the multiplayer on Halo, and I used to be quite good at it. But it's the story that hooks me in those worlds and characters. It's not it's just yet another shooter fighting the other, team and yada yada yada. Like, no, and like these narratives, like as much as we clown Sony and their third person sad dad narrative, there's a reason why they win so many awards and so much stuff.
Yeah.
People love get gravitate and get attached to these characters and these worlds, and they're brilliantly written for the most part. There have been a few that have been like, are you kidding? Come on. But like some have been most have been really good. And Expedition 33 is like that. And just, I don't know. It is eye roll inducing, the idea that this 11th hour entrance that is a, extraction shooter would actually take a game of the year crown from the team that has been here since hour one and was incredible and an all time game. That just, I don't know. That seems a little sus to me. That idea.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, did you see that awesome collaboration artwork from Expedition 33 and Final Fantasy 7?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was good.
Gorgeous. Where the Final Fantasy 7 art director made Gustav and Mael in the style of Final Fantasy VII, and then the director of Expedition 33 did Cloud and Aerith in the style of Expedition 33, and it was just incredible.
Yeah.
Beautiful artwork.
They need to sell
They
those
were
as
talking about
posters.
collaborating, and oh yes, 100%. I'd get one. And they were talking about the idea of collaborating in the future and all kinds of stuff. So clearly, the experts of the experts, the best of the best, the people that are masters of their craft, like they know beauty when they see it. And this just ain't it to me.
Yeah.
Long story short, I'm happy for the game, but game of the year, give me a break.
Yeah. Look. Oh, okay. For people listening live, I literally just hit my microphone. If you can still hear me, just let me know. This happens every week. I apologize if the audio got messed up there when I started talking. But yeah, I think those posters need to be made available to purchase immediately. And like, look, you could look at Expedition 33 and call it art, right? That. By the way, and I've talked about this before. I think AA games, they don't get any recognition at all, right? They get none. However, Expedition 33 is a AA game, right? That is a prime example of a AA game, and it's getting all the attention in the world, which it deserves. But, look, I personally feel that multiplayer games shouldn't. Not really. We have a multiplayer category, and I'll use another type of game as an example, right? Indie games, right? Indie games are technically nominated for 2 categories: Best Indie Game of the Year and Game of the Year. But people kind of have this thing against indie games being up for Game of the Year. Like last year, Balatro was up for Game of the Year, but not Indie Game of the Year. Like it's kind of weird. Everyone's going to be different, but that's just how I feel. And look, I 100% think Arc Raiders is going to win Best Multiplayer Game, as it bloody should. Another game that I think that could win Game of the Year is Split Fiction. That game came out in, I think, February, and that everyone loved that game. Everyone. And if you look at past Game of the Year games, what's really won? Like, last year it was Astro Bot, platformer. The year before that, you had Baldur's Gate 3. You know, it kind of made people look at those types of RPGs again. Brilliant story, beautiful world, great graphics, all that stuff, amazing music. And it's like, typically, it's usually a story-based game. But hey, I'm sure people are going to be arguing next month no matter who wins. And by the way, every single year, I try to guess what's going to be my game of the year. Last year, I guessed it was going to be Space Marine 2. I couldn't have been more wrong. Last year, my game of the year was Indiana Jones. Because, my God, that game is wonderful. And, I still give Space Marine 2 all the love in the world. I mean, hell, I think I post about Space Marine 2 on Twitter at least once a week. Like, that game is phenomenal. But yeah, let's see what we got next. My God, still got a ton of topics. Logan, do you want to talk about Half-Life 3? Because this topic never ends, and it's now 2025, and we're still talking about Half-Life 3 and how it's not here yet. What's going on?
Well, apparently there's been a disturbance in the force about Half-Life 3 in the Twitter sphere, where a lot of accounts related to Half-Life stuff, either content creators or insiders or writers, whatever you call them, have been coming back out of the woodwork, teasing some stuff. There's been like a headset or some hardware thing that was patented by Valve, apparently, that is supposed to be revealed or announced soon. There was a whole bunch of teases about gigabyte size and that within the next week something Half-Life was going to be happening. How accurate or not, I have no idea, but you take it with some other things that have happened within the last year about, the voice actors confirming some things going on, Steam sales being moved from a traditional date to earlier, to potential new hardware from Steam itself, to all kinds of stuff. It feels like something is going on with Half-Life. Of course, everybody's been saying that since the orange box, and we've all been red-nosed clowns about it. But it I still believe the truth is out there. We will get Half-Life 3 someday. And it feels like something is happening right now.
Yeah. I mean, look, I feel like we talk about Half-Life 3 at some point, at least once a month. Look, if every single year, this always happens at the Jeff Keighley Game Awards sponsored by Gillette, or Amazon Prime, like every single year there's always rumours about Half-Life 3, and he never denies it, right? And it's obvious why, because it gets people watching. Like, hell, I watched last year because I was wanting to see Half-Life 3 there. I think that, the game is coming. Like, a voice actor a couple of years ago did leak that it is happening. Like, a bunch of people have leaked that have worked on the title, said it's happening. It's just a matter of when. And like this, look how hyped people are about GTA, right? If anything, I think that Half-Life 3 is going to be the most hyped game of all time because while GTA would sell more because it has more mass appeal, like people have been waiting for Half-Life 3 since what, 2006? like 20
Yeah,
years almost.
episode 2, part 2.
Yeah, so like people have been waiting 20 years for this new game, and we've had nothing. Zip, zippity doodah, nothing. Uh, and I hope it happens. It will be interesting to see what that game's like because Half-Life 2 was pushing boundaries. You know, you use the gravity gun and the saw blade on like certain materials and like wood, like cuts like wood and sounds like wood. Just like everything across the board in Half-Life 2 is phenomenal. And still is actually Half-Life 2 still does things that most games don't do still.
Oh, like the splintering of the wood was
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, crazy. Um, and that game, like, it had its cliffhangers, and I still don't want to spoil that game for people, but like, phenomenal game. And by the way, I think it's absolutely criminal that Valve still hasn't released a new version of the Orange Box. Like, it is
Yeah,
backwards.
I know. What is up with that?
Yeah, it is backwards compatible. However, it was delisted, I believe, 2 years ago. Um,
Along with Left 4 Dead 1, 2, and Counter Strike. Yep.
yeah, crazy. And like, why not just release new versions? Like, it would sell. Like, like, come on, give us a way to play them. Put the first, Half Life on there as well. I just think that Valve Valve makes so much money. They don't need to put out a game just to make money. They don't have to put out a game to satisfy shareholders, right? Steam's just generating money by existing. So like they can take as much time as they want, but like if Half-Life 3 is game changing as what 2 was, that will be game of the year. Because like a game that we haven't seen a single frame of would win game of the year. But man, I hope it happens. Will it? I mean, we'll see. Like, look, Jeff Keighley's Game Awards, sponsored by Gillette. When they did their One More Thing a couple of years ago, do you know what that One More Thing was that they teased for like weeks? It was a Fast and the Furious game no one bought. Right? That was their One More Thing. So that's why I go into these Game Awards now, I try and put myself back a bit, thinking we're not going to see Half-Life here. Like, if anything, Half-Life is going to be a big enough game. It can be announced anytime, any day, right? You can have Valve come out and announce it at a time when everyone in the world is asleep, right? And it would just work. But, yeah, if anything is going to take any attention away from GTA next year, it will be this game. Will it be them? We will see. Like, Logan, we've talked about this a million times. Do you legitimately think we will see Half-Life 3 announced this year?
Man, that's a tough one. If I had to bet on it, I would say just no because of history and everything and the odds and stuff, but it just I don't know, there's just this feeling vibe out there that something is happening and something Half-Life related is happening soon. That it just feels right, but if I had to put like a guess 100% one way or another, I would say no, but I don't know. It just there's something there.
Yeah. And let's see what else we've got next. Look, I hope we see Half-Life soon, but we'll see. And we still have tons of topics. You know what? We'll talk about this quickly. So, in the past 2 weeks, or might have been last week, Grand Theft Auto 6, got delayed. And I don't think a lot of people were really shocked, getting pushed from May to November. I mean, a lot of people saw this coming, right? I honestly can't see Rockstar releasing a big game such as that halfway through the year, essentially. So like I wasn't surprised. I think a lot of people weren't surprised, but there was a lot of developers I know for a fact they were so happy when this was when this was announced, because up until Grand Theft Auto got its release date pushed back to next year, do you know, up until August, nobody, and I'm kidding, next to no developers had any release dates announced up until Grand Theft Auto got delayed to May, right? Because people are so scared of Grand Theft Auto, they don't want to be anywhere near it. So we're going to see the same thing next year. So developers that basically had games listed for 2026, they can basically release games in the first half of the year now and not worry. So next year is going to be a bit weird when it comes to its releases, but yeah, we all saw that delay coming. It's going to be the biggest launch of all time. It's going to sell 25 million copies in a week. You know, Xbox Live, PlayStation Network, those networks are going to crash. Like Hollow Knight, Silksong, crashed Xbox Live. Do you think Grand Theft Auto is not going to do the same? Yeah, you know, and that's going to be a big download. Like Logan, everyone knows the song and dance with GTA by now, but what's your take on its delay and the effect it's going to have?
I think you're already seeing it because, like, even since we started the show today, there have been several games just get release dates for next year that we had known were coming, but just didn't have the date. Like Fatal Frame 2 remake, Crimson Butterfly, is launching now March 12th of next year. Um, this game that I don't remember if you're familiar with the series, but AI Somnium, Nirvana, and
Oh yeah,
stuff like that. There was like a 1 and a 2. Like they had also made another game called No Rest for Konami Dante. Well, and then everybody's like, "What in the world? Why is it not coming to Xbox?" Well, I thought we were cool, Spike Chunsoft, and then turns out just revealed that it is coming to Xbox as well now, and they gave a release date for that in I think February. So a whole bunch of people are starting to pull back the curtain now that the boogeyman of GTA has a specific arrival date, so that they know when to expect it. And to me, holiday makes perfect sense. I think it would have been ideal as a summer blockbuster,
yeah,
but you know what? People are going to buy GTA anyway whenever it launched, and might as well make it near Christmas because, it'll be a perfect stocking stuffer for some folks for Christmas. And yeah, it's going to sell crazy. And there's your Black Friday prediction. GTA, like for a slight discount, will be a, a Black Friday thing, I bet. Or
yeah,
this holiday season.
yeah. It's going to be big. You know, I just think that, look, I get people being disappointed because we've been waiting such a long time. But the truth is, like, look, when this game comes out, it's going to be a 30 to 70 hour story if the rumors are true. It's going to get online support for probably a decade, and then we'll get a new one, and then we'll have the same cycle. So, hey, I hope it's good. It's just I'm not going to complain about Grand Theft Auto for 30 minutes straight like I used to do. But anyway, we'll move on. You know what? Like people can see in the title and in the thumbnail, Silent Hill 2 Remake is coming to Xbox. And how do we know this? Well, other than the fact that some text was kind of moved around on the official Silent Hill 2 Remake website, and other than the fact that some Steam database stuff kind of changed behind the scenes when it comes to its trailer, Xbox Live kind of leaked it. So it's coming to Xbox in, let's see, November 21st. There we go. It's finally coming. I know a lot of people have been waiting a long time for this. The game looks fantastic. I've been told it's fantastic. I mean, look, it's Silent Hill 2, but new, which you can't really go wrong with. Personally, I really loved the first game, and that is going to get a remake as well. So hey, good news for everyone. I'd be surprised if it's not announced for the Switch 2 as well. And also, it looks like it's probably going to be announced during an Xbox showcase happening next week. But hey, big win for everybody. And look, I'm sure at the Xbox showcase, which is rumored to happen next week, it's going to be a big show. But it looks like Konami's actually going to shadow drop the thing, which I didn't think they would do. I think they would do a little marketing cycle for this because, again, Silent Hill is a well-known brand. The remake for 2 did really well. I'm just surprised that it looks like they're going to shadow drop this. And if anything, I thought they would give it more room between Silent Hill F and launching 2. But hey, I'm sure Konami knows what they're doing. Logan, what do you think? Because we finally have the news and it's coming next week.
Yeah, I'm excited. Just in time for my birthday. So, I'm looking forward to it. Silent Hill 2 is a masterpiece, and Bluebird knocked it out of the park, I've heard, with this remake. Like, if their work on Chronos New Dawn is any indication, we're all in for a treat for this. Can't wait to play it, and it's expected to come with a wish or something like expansion or DLC or something like that. So, looking forward to it. Can't wait to dive in, and I'm just glad Konami's making games again instead of just pachinko machines and bottle of water.
Yeah, I mean, look, you go back a couple of years ago, Konami wasn't really putting out anything. Metal Gear was in a standstill. Silent Hill, same. Nothing since that PT demo back in 2014, I think it was. And now, like, they are putting out some big games. Like, look, I complained about Metal Gear Solid 3 Remake's price, but my God, they knocked that out of the park. That thing is gorgeous. They basically training new developers to work on new Metal Gear games, which is what we want more than anything. Silent Hill is back, finally. And, there have been rumors that Castlevania is coming. My God, if they nail Castlevania, chef's kiss. But yeah, next week, Silent Hill 2 Remake. It will be interesting to see if Silent Hill 1 Remake, if that's a timed exclusive, but we just can't tell with these deals. So many happen. Oh, and by the way, I completely forgot that Sony had their event today. That happened like a couple of hours ago. Oops.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll talk about that next week if there's anything cool announced there. So Xbox. Oh, right. We'll talk about this quickly. The Elder Scrolls 6 has been on a lot of people's minds for a very long time. And let's just say that game has been in development for so long. It went into full production, though, in, I believe, September 2023 when Skyfall, Starfield launched. And, it's going to be a big game. However, there's been rumors for the past 2 years that it's coming out in 2026. And Todd Howard basically said yesterday, or it might have been the day before, that the Elder Scrolls 6 is still, quote-unquote, some time away. And, if you look at some of the past Elder Scrolls games and Fallouts, basically, we don't really see that game in action till about 5 months before the game comes out. So, like, I still think it is going to be like a 2027 release, but they aren't going to show anything in advance. I think Starfield, they showed up way too much, way too soon. Not for the game's purpose, but for the fans, right? I think, this might be controversial, I think we see too much of most video games before they come out, right? We don't need to see entire breakdowns of entire levels, right? Put out a gameplay trailer, that's it, right? I don't want to see 40 minutes of footage. It's kind of spoil stuff. But like Elder Scrolls, Skyrim, one of the biggest games of all time, they announced it basically 5 months before it came out. They showed off footage at E3 before it came out in the November. And they showed off, a 15-minute gameplay demo. That was enough to sell people on it. Fallout 4, basically the same thing. And I suspect they'll do the same thing with this. It's just they blatantly, bit of a tangent, they blatantly put out the trailers for Elder Scrolls 6 and Starfield for those game announcements back in 2016 or 2017, whenever they did, just to generate hype, right? It was at a time where Bethesda wasn't putting out many new games. They have so many years in between big releases that they kind of want people to talk about something. And it works. People have been talking about the Elder Scrolls since. People talked about Starfield for years. And, it's a tactic that worked for them. But, Logan, what do you think? Because Elder Scrolls is clearly some time away, but Bethesda's a weird company, and they could literally just announce it properly at, let's say, E3 in 2027 and launch it in the November.
The troll lord that he is.
Yeah.
Just shadow dropping that sucker, honestly. Or what bigger troll move would it be to have zero hype cycles, zero marketing, zero whatever, and just go one day you wake up and Elder Scrolls 6 Redguard or whatever they call it is out. Or if they announce it at as a one more thing at a Xbox Direct, and then it's like a launch title for the next gen or something like that. I could totally see that because Todd has embraced a persona of like I don't want to deal with all the pomp and circumstance and the fluff and all the needless red tape. Just let us work on the game, make it, and when it's done, we'll get it out to you. And simple as that. So I think I know he says sometime, but I don't know. I would be hard pressed to think it's longer than 5 years at this point. I would think it's less than that, and I would say 2 or 3 years we'll see it. But we shall see. And it sounds like Fallout 3 has been confirmed yet again in other leaks and teases. So why they haven't dropped it yet, I don't know.
Yeah, I Fallout 3 remake. That thing's been a really bad kept secret in the game industry for a long time now, and it kind of just came out the other day that yeah, it's coming. If you were going to announce it, it would have made sense to announce it at their Fallout showcase, because where they clearly acknowledged it twice. Um, but if you then look, if it doesn't get announced the same day or same week as that Fallout show dropping, I will be shocked. Literally shocked. I can't see that not happening. Right? They blatantly have it just waiting. And you know what? Considering it's Microsoft, what if they actually wait till their January Direct and then they shadow drop it then? They clearly have no problem shadow dropping games. Like Oblivion shadow drops. Like we all knew about it because it was a badly kept secret, some art leaks, but like that was a shadow drop, and it surprised some people if they weren't on the internet 24/7 like us. But yeah, I think that it's coming. I'd be shocked if it isn't announced by mid-January. And I'll say announced and released when it comes to the Fallout 3 remake. But yeah, all that stuff is blatantly happening. Which, look, I may have said before, I've played Fallout 3 a lot. I want to play a new Fallout game. The truth is, Fallout 3 is one of my favorite games of all time. I'm going to play that the second it releases, because that game is amazing. And I personally think it's better than New Vegas. I'm one of those people. I think
They're coming for you, Jamie.
I know. The thing is, I've never understood the over hype. Yeah, I'll say it. I think New Vegas is overhyped, right?
You don't like orange?
Oh my god! Do you know? I think maybe it's the orange thing that puts me off. And my experience with that game at launch was really buggy. But my god, like that, everywhere you look, orange, everywhere. And yes, we can't talk about 3 because 3 is like that puke, grainy grey. I get it, right? They aren't exactly pleasant colours. However, you play Fallout 4, nice colourful sky, buildings are different colours from each other. But personally, I think Fallout New Vegas isn't as good as 3. That being said, I think that, look, when the remake of 3 comes out, 3 has a bunch of different expansions. You have the Pit, you have Broken Steel, you have Mothership Zeta, which I think is the best expansion, Operation Anchorage. I might be forgetting one, but like, there's so many cool expansions in that game. And like, as a project, that must be massive. And it's been so long since we've had a new Fallout game for millions of people. It would be. But hey, Fallout stuff's finally coming. Fallout 76 is getting an expansion next month, and man, it's just a good time. Very good time to be a Fallout fan because the stuff is coming, and we all know, but it's not official yet. And you know what? We'll quickly talk about the Xbox Magnus before we end the show because it's now 2025, and people at Microsoft just can't stop talking about their next console. One, they keep needing to be reassured that the console exists. But honestly, like this far in advance, we've never really had before. Like we normally don't have multiple years in advance to find out about the new console. I used to think that their next console is coming out in 2026. I'm now on the defense of it being the side of the fence of it being 2027. I don't think it's coming next year now. Now that being said, apparently they have dev kits out in the wild for the Magnus, making development easier across Xbox and PC. Because look, some people have been freaking out about the PC stuff. The truth is, if you have an Xbox right now, or even a PlayStation, those are actually PCs. Right? They're PCs, but you know, it's x86 architecture, but with like unique UI and all that stuff. Unique UI and all that stuff. I'm all over the place today. I've had next to no sleep. But anyway, the Xbox Magnus, the development kits are out there in the wild. The games are coming. The consoles are coming. Look, I think it's cool that they have dev kits out this early in the past. I think some launch titles haven't really been in the best shape. And if you look at last generation, I should say this generation, Microsoft didn't have any first-party launch games, right? They had Gears Tactics, but we know what people are like with turn-based games. I think that if Microsoft, they are planning for 2027, which it looks like, they are clearly wanting a lot of developers on board to develop games ready for the launch because as we know right now, Sony has no intention of launching in 2027. Because, you know, they had the Pro, which came out last year. They still want people to buy that. People from Sony came out today, and I think it was an investors call, talk about how they are, quote-unquote, halfway through the generation. I know that could be interpreted in different ways, but as of now, like, Microsoft's going first. Will it work out for them? I mean, in the past it has, but I think it just depends on the titles. But I think it's cool that, you know, because like some developers in the past for other consoles haven't gotten dev kits out till last minute. Like the Switch 2, developers are still having problems getting dev kits, meaning you're going to have some games that have kind of bad performance. And we have seen that with some titles. But if they get them early, way in advance, we can have some sweet performance, sweet looking titles. And as of right now, we still don't know what next gen Xboxes are going to do. Right? We've constantly been told that there's going to be the biggest leap ever. So what exactly is the technical hook they're going to sell us on? This generation, it was 120 frames per second, ray tracing, and all that jazz. What's it next generation? We need to know, obviously, and we're not going to be told for, like, let's say another year and a half. So to me, I think it's cool that the dev kits are out early. Let them do their thing. But I think it's going to be a long while before we actually see these consoles in action and even be announced. Like, hell, the Xbox Scarlet was the name known for like 2 years, but we never heard anything about them. Logan, what's your take? Because we all kind of know next gen's coming. Microsoft clearly, they'll talk about it at every given opportunity. They just want to reassure people that the consoles are coming, but they are.
Yeah, I'm excited. 2027 feels like the date for me for the next console for Xbox. And if they hadn't, postponed their handheld, maybe they would have released that in 2026, maybe as an idea, but as a stopgap. But I think that Ally X is doing well and will hold people over till then, especially since they're updating it a lot. And it's kind of like a beta prototype for their PC console hybrid approach. And these new dev kits are essentially that, where they're like a hybridization of PC and Xbox architecture. So to me, it makes sense. Let them cook a little bit longer. people up to speed with these, get more prepared to make things play anywhere because you can easily make it on Xbox or PC or both or a mix. So to me, it's good news all around and can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, look, it is. It's been a weird generation, right? Because the first 2 years of this generation, so many games were getting delays all the time. So like this generation felt like it took a while to get going. It really did. And then the pandemic ended, people was able to work from offices again, and then games started coming out regularly. Like, look, can you remember how barren 2021 felt?
Yeah, 2019 to 2021 was awful. Like, I mean, that could just be a blanket statement in general, but
Yeah.
in gaming, it was awful. Um, like, so much got slowed down to a crawl, especially stuff like Hellblade 2 and stuff that were heavy mocap and stuff where you have to be interacting directly physically with people in a space or for whatever reasons it wasn't secure enough to work on remote servers, or there was problems trying to collaborate with all these people across different places instead of in one location. It just made things super complicated, and I'm glad we don't have to deal with that anymore, and that people can work at home if they choose or work at a place if they choose. And it's better for it now. But yeah, that was a struggle period, and they it would be simply inexcusable for Xbox to mess around and have a launch console without a major first party presence again. That would be simply just, you cannot do this kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it was weird because, like, look, we're all stuck in the house, right? We had to deal with people scalping the consoles online, that was ridiculous, by the way. Like, it was so
Like
hard.
$700
Yeah, like
or 1,000, whatever.
people were selling these consoles for absurd prices online. It was hard to get one for a lot of people, and as soon as we got all these consoles, 2021 especially was a very slow year. 2022 got a little bit better, and ever since it's gotten really good. This year I'd say it's been one of the best years in gaming ever. But like Microsoft, they need to make sure they have a really cool slate of games. Like I think Xbox One, despite all the people lost the marbles about the DRM thing, they actually had some really cool launch titles. And 360 that had a bunch of cool launch titles. The original Xbox, obviously, it launched with Halo. So I think we'll have to just see what happens. But like Microsoft getting dev kits out early, that's just important, right? We don't need like Microsoft's going to put out a super powerful console. They need developers to actually utilize that power, and if they are going first, they're going to be really incentivized for developers to actually take advantage of this power, because they're going to be the only ones out with next gen tech. And developers, despite what people might think, developers want their games to look and perform the best. So if they can, they will. But yeah, I think the next 2 years for gaming is going to be really interesting, and we'll see what happens next. But anyway, that's the end of the show. Logan, it's been great talking with you once again. Everyone in chat has been great. Now, I've talked about this before. We kind of have some technical difficulties going on these shows live sometimes because all my settings decide to, reset for some reason. Kind of happened today, so apologies if the beginning of the show had weird audio on my end. Try not to let that happen next week. We'll be back for a new episode of All Things Xbox Podcast, same time next week, unless anything changes. And if it does, I'll let people know online. The link to my previous video, or my new video, is in the description down below. 20 biggest new games coming to Xbox Series X and S in November and December. There's a lot of cool games coming out this month and next month. I think there's a lot of big games there that people may not be familiar with that they might want to pay attention to. But again, that's in the description down below. The links to our Twitters is also in the description down below if you want to follow us on there. Let's face it, me and Logan, we're on Twitter basically more than we should be. like way more.
We should pay rent.
Yeah, basically. I mean, my God. If you check your screen time, then you realize stuff. You're like, wow. But hey, it's always fun on there. And yeah. Anyway, hope everyone in chat and everyone that watches afterwards have a great week. We're out, everybody. Peace.